If you're an investor and you're looking to start trading, the markets are going to punish you 10 times more than you ever could imagine. Why? Because you can't come into a trading atmosphere with the mindset of an investor. An investor makes 8-10% a year, where a trader can make 8 to 10% a week. My name is Nesh. I'm the owner of FinTrade Master Academy, where I help individuals make 20% returns month over month, and I've taught over 400 professionals these same concepts in my academy. Now, I'm going to break down to you why you need to get out of the investor mindset when you're coming into trading like the institutions do, or just trading in general. First and foremost, we need to talk about investors, right? So the way I'm going to structure this is I'm going to talk about investors, and then we're going to talk about traders, and then we're going to compare the two, right? Investors are tied to long-term growth, right? Long-term appreciation is the actual term. I'm just going to write down long-term growth. What does that mean? That means you essentially get about 8 to maybe 10% a year, right? But that's not including inflation. So with inflation being around, 3% or whatnot, you're actually getting anywhere between 5 to 7% a year on your money, right? So that's what the investors get long term. And what they do is they think this is safe, right? They think it's safe because they invest into the index fund or CD or whatever it may be, right? But in reality, it's not. It's not safe, right? Because you're not in control of your money at all. You have control is zero. Big battle goose egg, right? You don't have any control whatsoever. So what does that mean? That means if you have major news events, that could drive the market up, which at that point you'll be happy. But then it could also drive the market down, which you will be sad and crying and panicking. And you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have done that, blah, 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 blah. Well, in reality, the retail traders are probably doing the same thing, right? They're probably freaking out with news events, but trading like the institutions do, they capitalize on the way up and capitalize on the way down, which is another thing with investors. They're only doing about 10% of what the market actually can give them. What does that mean? They're putting into an index fund, a stock, or whatever it may be, a commodity, and they're only doing one part of it, which is buying. And on top of that, when they buy a position, they're putting 100% of their money into the market, meaning they're exposing 100% of their money. So meaning, for example purposes, let's say you have $5,000 and you put $5,000 into, let's say let's put into a different AI stock, right? You put 5K into an AI stock, right? That AI stock can maybe grow 5% a year, which is fine. You're making 5% on your money. But what happens if that AI stock goes down to zero? That means you lose all your money, and now you are down with 0 Ks, right? You're down with $0 because you're doing the investor way. You're going for that long-term growth. But here's also the math behind that, right? Let me kind of erase this for you real quick. Let me just erase this super fast. If you're an investor, right, and you put in, let's say, 100 grand into the stock market, growing at, let's say, 7% a year, what is that? That's 7K. And let's say you are 30 years old. How the hell are you going to retire? You're not. You're going to literally be retiring broke or working forever. You're going to be 75 years old and still working. This is not the way it used to be. My grandpa is 85 years old and he's been retired for the past 20 years because back then you could do that, because there was no such thing as inflation as hard as it is today. But in this economy and in this world, you cannot do that. You will be crying when you are 70 years old, still working. My average person that comes in my academy is between 50 to 65 years old, where that used to be the average age to retire. They're still working, and they always tell me they have about 10 more years left to work. As if it's like, oh, I'm almost done, I'm almost there. Man, 10 more years? I'm currently 31 years old and I don't work. All I do is do this. So you're clearly doing something wrong as an investor, right? And if you don't remember as why smart people make less money in the markets, go watch that video, because if this is hitting you, you have an ego, my friend. And your ego is not your amigo, right? So that's what the investor system looks like. And you need to stop trading like an investor. Why? Because the max you potentially could get year over year is potentially about 12% minus inflation, which is about 3%. You're looking at a total of maybe, I want to say, 9% per year. And if you're managing your account, if you're not managing your account, you have someone else doing it, you're maybe minusing another 2%. So your overall total is 7% a year, right? So that's the investor side. Now let's look at the trader side, right? Let me just kind of map this out. Trade, I'm going to put this here. Trader. First and foremost, they can make 8% to 10% a week, right? They can do that. That's not hard. It's very, very, very easy to do, which I'll explain here in a second. Second, they have control. Their control is 100% of what happens. Third, they expose a certain percentage to the markets that they are wanting to risk. So if they have a $5,000 account, remember the investor exposes 100% of that. A trader can expose 1% of that to the market to look to gain maybe a 2% win, which is about it's not that hard. If you risk 1% of $5,000, I think that's I think $100 something bucks, right? My math is off. You're just looking to make that back, or maybe make $200 or $250, right? Now you're at that 2% based off of one trade. That's what we call RR, risk to reward ratio. One more time, risk to reward ratio, meaning if you're risking that 1%, right, that multiplier, which is the reward, you're looking to multiply it. So meaning we usually go for 1 to 2s, and other people may call it 2 to 1. I call it 1 to 2. Right? It doesn't really matter how you call it. Either way, risk to reward, right? So the risk is the 1 and the reward is the 2. So if I'm risking 1%, I'm looking to multiply it by 2 and get 2% gain on that. So that means what? You have 100% control of your money. And here's the cool part. You can actually start as little as $500 and grow that in 1 year to $10K. Look at that growth. That's extreme amount of growth, right? And then let's actually talk about real numbers, right? Let's talk real numbers. If you were to start with let's use 5K, right? The average person I speak to starts with 5K. In year 1, you can turn 5K into about like $48,000, right? Then year 2, with the compound effect, you can turn this into about I think it's 489K if I'm doing the math correctly, based off of 20% returns a month, right? If you're doing it based off of 20% returns per month, you can make about this amount of money in year 2. So this is, I'm going to do YR1, YR2, right? Let's make that better here. Excuse me for my chicken scratch, YR2, right? So in year 2, you can make 489. Now, what's 20% of that? A lot of money. Do you need to work anywhere? No. Congratulations, you retired in 2 years instead of 10. And that's how that works, right? Now, let's compare the two, right? So we just broke down a trader's mindset and trader's reality, and we broke down an investor's mindset and an investor's reality, right? Now, let's break down the two and see which one's more favorable, right? You have an investor and you have a trader. An investor is going to be waiting years for their returns. A trader waits minutes for their returns. A trader is exposing 100% of their capital. A trader only exposes a percentage of their capital. And then on top of that, an investor is capped, whereas a trader is infinite returns based on your risk and your strategy. Second, the investor has 0% control, whereas the trader has 100% control of their money and their growth. right? Now, the reason why you cannot be an investor coming into a trading system is because look at the differences. You're waiting years for a move to happen. We wait minutes. You expose 100% of your capital to the market. We expose a certain percentage based off of risk to reward ratio. You are capped on what you can make. We have infinite growth. And then on top of that, you have zero control. We have 100% control. And now I know a lot of you probably would be like, well, I don't want to be sitting on the screens all day long. Those aren't traders. Those are idiots. All right, those are people who are losing tons of money every single day. All right, those are not traders. Those are people who just don't know how to trade at all. Those are gamblers, is what I call it, right? Those are the people that you go, for example, let's say you're on vacation, right? And you go to the casino just to, have some fun. You're traveling, having a good time, living life, right? And you go to the casino. And then you go to the blackjack table and you see one dude there just playing, having fun. And then you're like, all right, cool. I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'm going to go have some dinner. I'm going to go walk around, do this and that. And then 3-5 hours later, you come back, that same person's still at that blackjack table. That's because he's lost money, made money, lost money, made money, lost money. Now he's getting greedy. That's what those type of traders are. They spend all day in front of the charts and getting greedy, trying to make all their money back, trying to win something. And when in reality, they're actually winning nada, nothing, right? So don't be those people. Be the people that actually know how to trade. So that's the difference between an investor mindset and a trader's mindset, right? Hopefully you found some value in this. If you did, drop a like, comment, subscribe. And if this is resonating with you and you're an investor and you want to start to become a trader and actually trade and make your retirement become a reality, you can click the link below and apply and see how we can maybe help you out. If we can't, don't worry, we'll point you in another direction, right? Again, my name is Nestor. I'm the owner of FinTrade Master Academy, where we teach people how to make 20% returns month over month. Cool? Comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.